What's up, Internet? Welcome to Once Over. I'm Kaylee.
And I'm Erika.
And today we're going to be giving the Once Over to Empire Records.
There will be spoilers. A responsibility like this requires the obedience of a saint.
Erika's been my best friend since right around when this movie came out in 1995. And she's one of the biggest Empire Records fans that I know. Every year we celebrate Rex Manning Day, and this year we couldn't think of a better way to celebrate than by reviewing this movie.
This movie starts out with Lucas, who is tasked with closing the store for the night, which includes counting all the money twice and completing the deposit. However, when he stumbles across some information that the store is possibly being bought by Music Town, he gets nervous and doesn't like that, and he heads to Atlantic City with their store closings deposit to try to save Empire Records.
They don't want the store to get bought by the big evil corporation Music Town.
Damn the man! So unsurprisingly, he starts off doing great and then loses everything. And he has to go back to Empire Records the next day, and everyone knows.
So now the manager of the store, Joe, has to come up with a way to repay the owner, Mitchell. Meanwhile, Joe gets distracted from the embezzlement because Rex Manning, a washed-up 80s pop star, is coming to the record store for a signing.
Speaking of autograph signings, this is a picture autographed by none other than Ethan Embry.
I bought that on eBay in like 1998.
That's the year we became friends.
eBay was still an HTML website at that point, if I remember correctly. I was also selling all of my Beanie Babies on eBay at that time.
Which is kind of a shame.
I made zero money.
So in getting ready for Rex Manning Day, we get to see a typical day at Empire Records. And in doing so, we learn a lot about each of the individual characters.
And the movie kind of concludes after all of that, after we get to see this day in the life of, with the gang holding a benefit, so like a kind of party concert sort of thing, so that they can save the Empire.
And of course, everything is perfect in the end.
Each character is really unique, and we get to learn a ton about them. So let's start out by talking about Lucas.
Lucas is played by Rory Cochrane, who, as I mentioned earlier, kicked off the movie stealing a whole bunch of money. After he gets back to Empire Records and it's discovered that he lost all the money, he is forced to remain on the couch for the entirety of the day. From there, he spits out several one-liners that are very unique to Lucas, very Yoda-like, very thought-provoking.
In the immortal words of the Doors, the time to hesitate is through. In this life, there are nothing but possibilities. What's with today? Who knows where thoughts come from? They just appear.
He's kind of a brooding character, right?
They're very Lucas.
Yeah. At the time of filming, Rory Cochrane was actually dating Renee Zellweger in real life, and he actually encouraged her to audition, and she ended up getting the role of Gina. So Gina is kind of the turbo slut of this movie. I don't necessarily think that she is one, but everybody else seems to.
Well, just Corey.
Just Corey mostly thinks that she is. She is definitely wild and vivacious, and she's not at all afraid to be herself. And her friendship with Corey becomes a central focus of the film.
Speaking of Corey, Corey is Gina's best friend, who is played by Liv Tyler.
Corey is in love with Rex Manning, who is played by Maxwell Caulfield. And he is, of course, the jaded 80s pop star.
In Corey's attempts to throw herself at Rex Manning, she realizes that that's not what she wants. And she bails out of that situation fast.
Because of that, she kind of misses out on the fact that AJ, who's played by Johnny Whitworth, is actually in love with her. He is an artist through and through. He's kind of a weird, goofy artist type. And actually, in 2019, when Erika and I celebrated Rex Manning Day, we glued quarters to the ground a la AJ. And we posted that picture online, and Johnny Whitworth actually liked it, which made both of us feel really special. Next up, there's Deb, played by Robin Tunney.
Deb is going through a very personal struggle that you see right away. Her first introduction into coming into Empire Records, she goes into the bathroom and shaves her head before she clocks in. It is very evident that the prior evening she had a suicide attempt. They all show her their support for her, and they even give her a fake funeral to help her be reminded that she's loved. And it speaks volumes to incorporating suicide into a otherwise very light and comedic film.
I'm gonna cry just thinking about that funeral scene. I love that scene. It's so beautiful.
It is. It's a beautiful scene, and still very lighthearted.
There are a bunch of smaller characters in the film. For example, Burko, who's played by Coyote Shivers, who actually does the theme song of the movie Sugar High. He is Deb's kind of boyfriend, maybe ex-boyfriend. We don't get a ton about their relationship, but we know that they have an existing relationship. A really interesting fact about him is that actually at the time of filming, he was Liv Tyler's stepdad.
And then there's Mark, which, let's be honest, is the reason we all love this movie.
So today, I will offer myself to Rex Manning.
Today, I will offer myself to Ethan Embry.
Yes! Oh, I love you. No, like this.
No, like this.
Mark is played by Ethan Embry, Ethan Randall at the time and before that, but thereafter he is Ethan Embry, and he is a total goof. So one of the bands that Mark really likes is Gwar. Gwar was actually playing
in North Carolina where they were filming.
In North Carolina where they were filming when they were doing the movie, which is why Gwar is sprinkled in.
And it was actually Ethan Embry's idea to incorporate Gwar into the movie. And another fun fact is that Erika and I's first concert together was a Gwar concert.
We've already mentioned the boss Joe, who was played by Anthony LaPaglia. He is the best boss that anyone could ask for. He cares deeply for all of his employees and helps them with anything that they need. He took Lucas in at a very young age, actually, and
didn't fire him when he stole $9,000. Yeah. He manages to help out each one of the characters in exactly the way that they need help, which is something that's so unique and something that I think, a lot of bosses don't do. But when you find a boss like that, I mean, that's somebody incredible.
So it never comes across as corny or anything. Yeah. It's very endearing.
Yeah, it's extremely authentic.
Yeah.
And actually, another chance that he gives to another character in the film is to Warren, the Warren is a kid who comes into the store and he shoplifts or attempts to shoplift some CDs.
Yeah, he's either into rap, heavy metal, or Whitney Houston. We're not entirely
sure which, but he certainly loves stealing, that's for sure. They stop him from shoplifting the CDs, but he actually returns to the store later on with a gun and tries to hold everybody up. And during that interaction, we discover that it turns out all he really wants is to work at a record store. So even though he ends up getting arrested for coming and holding up the entire store, he is actually offered a job, and that's just yet another way that Joe is such an amazing manager and boss. Empire Records was a gigantic box office flop. It grossed less than $300,000, which is insanely low. I feel like that's the salary of one actor these days. It also was really critically hated, but it has developed such a huge cult following, so there's tons of people like Erika and I that celebrate Rex Manning Day every year. So I guess the question is, why do we love this movie so much?
For me, it's about the nostalgia of it. I grew up in the 90s, and like the movie shows, a lot of people identify themselves with the music that they listen to. That takes me back.
And speaking of the music in this movie, even though the actual film itself was a gigantic failure, it actually did really well on the Billboard 100.
Speaking of nostalgia, there are plenty of signs of the times that you will pick up on very quickly watching this movie. First and foremost, the movie takes place in a record store, CD store, which are far and few between, if any, are still in existence.
Almost obsolete these days. And actually, the screenwriter of the film, Carol Heiken, based her screenwriting off of her experiences working for Tower Records,
which we visited in San Francisco in 2002. One? Oh, one. Yeah. Some other things that you might notice are the size of TVs, like their width, Polaroid cameras, the concept of ruining a CD by burning it with a lighter, and really just the subculture of people based upon music.
And that's something that I think that we carry into today. People identify so deeply with the types of music that they listen to, but you can see a lot of 90s references within this film. Another weird thing about this movie is definitely the usage of terms that I feel like they were trying to codify into existence, but they never really happened. Like, for example,
I look like a bigger banana head. Get in there! Come on, buckethead!
and other weird lines like,
Baby, you are sex.
I know.
I feel like this movie was trying so hard to make these things become a thing, but because nobody went and saw this movie in the box office, they just did not stick around. But nowadays, we find them really funny.
So maybe you'll notice that I'm wearing a different shirt than how this review started. This is a Chainsaw Kittens t-shirt made to replicate the shirt worn by Mark throughout the movie. Kaylee and I made this shirt for our 2019 Rex Manning Day, where I was Mark for the day and she was
Corey!
the lovely Corey. Next year, I'm going to be Gina.
And next year, I'm gonna try to be the brooding Lucas. Very existential.
So now we've told you why we love Empire Records.
And we'd love to know why you love this movie or why you hate it. I mean, tons of people also totally hate it. But we'd love to know what you think about it. So please leave a comment down below and let us know what you think. And we'd love to have Erika back.
We'll see about that.
Everybody convince Erika to come back and talk about Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Please like and subscribe to Once Over with Kaylee.
Hi, Annabelle. Thanks again for watching, and we can't wait for the next one.